Hi, welcome to the first ever episode of Fantasy Wise Guys. I'm Jason Roth, this is my brother Jeffrey Roth. For the next 17 weeks of the NFL season, on a week-to-week basis, we'll be bringing you our picks and tips for the fantasy football season.
Jason and I have been participating in competitive fantasy football leagues for over a decade, and we've played in some high-stakes money leagues and very competitive leagues and have won. So we feel like we have some really good insight to give to you for this upcoming fantasy football season, not only prior to the draft, but also on a week-to-week basis. So please tune in, again, fantasywiseguys.com. You can email us your picks or questions about your lineups to fantasywiseguys@hotmail.com.
Please be sure to check back also on YouTube on a weekly basis, where we'll be giving you our opinions on what to do in the weeks to come in the fantasy football season. Jeff and I have looked back over the last 10 years that we've been playing fantasy football, and we know how the game has progressed. We've seen players like Emmitt Smith dominate. We've seen players like Jerry Rice dominate. We've seen players like Shannon Sharpe dominate fantasy football.
And now it's progressed over the years. Marshall Faulk has dominated. Terrell Davis had 2 or 3 fantastic years. And now it's all about LaDainian Tomlinson. So if you get the number 1 pick in your draft, LT is the obvious pick, and your team is sure to have some success during the year.
So as the players have changed, so too has fantasy football. There's just so much information available. It's really mind-boggling. The internet, explosion of the internet over the last decade. NFL statistics are everywhere.
And when we first started, it was basically 2 or 3 fantasy football websites, some chat rooms, some forums, and you really relied on the guide that you would buy at the Barnes & Nobles or the Borders to help you through the season.
And Pro Football Weekly as well. It was a staple of fantasy football players everywhere.
And USA Today especially. They give you an update on a daily basis in terms of team by team, and we use that to our advantage. And one thing I want to mention, because of the plethora of all these sites, you can get overwhelmed. And for that reason, I created a website over the off-season, www.allfantasyfootballlinks.com, which has quality, updated, and informative websites that you can go to for free fantasy football information. Now, some of them are paid websites, but I've tried to include as many free information sites as I can. So please go visit my website, www.allfantasyfootballlinks.com, and it'll lead you to many good, fantastic fantasy football information.
So while the data is out there and fantastic that Jeff has provided this link, you really have to understand how to analyze the data, how to analyze the information that you get. And that's something that we have become very acute at being able to do. We've had great success, as Jeff has said, and we want to lend you some of our insight and help you to dominate your league.
And there's a lot of different ways that you can look at fantasy football. People have different draft strategies, and we're not going to get. Everyone's got their set ways. Nowadays it's basically you pick 2 running backs in the first 2 rounds, and you sort of go after do whatever you want after that. Some people try to go the opposite way and pick 2 wide receivers. It's a more risky strategy, but sometimes it might work. So it's up to you. You have to really analyze the players that are available and who you think are sleepers that other people in your league won't even think about, that you can pick up later in the draft and go on to win your league.
So please, like we said, we are here to help you. So please send your questions regarding lineups and so forth to fantasywiseguys@hotmail.com by Wednesday of every week. Check here on YouTube, and we'll be answering your questions and providing information for you.
And as part of our preseason information sessions, we're going to give you our top 10 rankings for each position: wide receiver, running back, tight end. We'll also give you some selections for kickers and defenses. Not quite top 10 selections, but just some information there. So again, please return fantasywiseguys.com. You can find us on YouTube. If you do searches such as wide receiver rankings, quarterback rankings, you can find us very easily.
So Jeff, what do you say we get started with our analysis of the draft?
Sounds good.